अस्सलाम वालेकुम डियर स्टूडेंट्स। आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है दैट इज़ कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स यूज्ड इन हायरार्कियल क्लासिफिकेशन। कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स used in hierarchical classification. Hierarchical classification. Yesterday we have studied that how different hierarchies are created while classifying organisms, right from the species up to the kingdom level. We have different taxa or different hierarchical categories wherein we classify, wherein we group organisms according to their characteristics. So while putting any organism in a particular hierarchy, in a particular taxon, what are the characters that we use for this hierarchical classification? We have different characters for that. Number one is that is complexity of cell structure. While classifying organisms, the first character that we take into consideration is the complexity of cell structure. What is the complexity of cell structure of that particular organism? By this we mean whether the organism is a prokaryote or it is a eukaryote. So here what we create the basis, what we keep the basis, that is prokaryotic versus eukaryotic organization. Eukaryotic organization of the cell, whether a particular organism is a prokaryotic organism or a eukaryotic organism. By prokaryotic and by eukaryotic organism, I think you must be acquainted of, as I have already told you in the class, that a prokaryotic organism is one. A prokaryotic organism is one which has not a well-defined nucleus. The nuclear membrane is naked. The genetic material is naked without any nuclear membrane. Membrane-bound organelles are absent. We do not have a well-defined nucleus, that is the nucleide we have in prokaryotic organisms, while as in eukaryotic organisms we have a well-defined nucleus, a membrane-bound nucleus, and membrane-bound cell organelles, and so many other characteristics that distinguish between a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic organism. So the very first character while we put in organism in hierarchical classification is by considering this complexity of cell structure, that is the prokaryotic versus the eukaryotic organization of an organism. And number second character that we consider while classifying organisms in hierarchies, that is complexity of organism's body. Complexity of organism's body. What is the complexity of the body of the organism? That is here, by this we mean we consider the unicellular versus multicellular nature of the organism, whether a particular organism is unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular, those organisms which are made up of only one cell, and multicellular organisms, those organisms which are made up of more than one cells. And in unicellular organisms, you know that all the life activities they are carried out by the single cell, while in multicellular organisms we have the division of labor. So this was the second character that we consider while classifying organisms in the hierarchical classification. And number third character that we take into consideration, it is the complexity in obtaining nutrition. या सीधे हम कहेंगे mode of nutrition. What is the mode of nutrition of an organism? That is here we consider the the autotrophic versus heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition, whether the organism is obtaining its nutrition autotrophically or heterotropically, whether it is capable of synthesizing its own food by the process of photosynthesis, that is the autotrophic mode of nutrition, or Is it dependent upon other plants and animals for its food requirements, that is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition? These are the three fundamental characteristics that we put into consideration while classifying organisms in the hierarchical classification. And we have another fourth characteristic that we take into consideration, that is the phylogenetic relationship. Phylogenetic relationship of an organism. Phylogenetic relationship of an organism. Here, by this we mean that how animal body has developed and organized its different parts. Development and organization. Development and organization of different parts of an organism. So these are the four characteristics that we put into consideration while classifying any organism in the hierarchical system of classification. And during in classification, we have two fundamental systems of classification. As far as the studies are concerned, we have two fundamental systems of classification. The number one, which was given by Corliss Linnaeus in 1758, that is called as the two kingdom system of classification, and another, that is the Whitaker's five kingdom classification put forth by R.H. Whitaker in 1959, the five kingdom classification. Let we first have a look at the two kingdom system of classification of Corliss Linnaeus in 1758. That is the two kingdom system of classification. Two kingdom classification. Here in this two kingdom classification, it was put forth by Corliss Linnaeus. Corliss Linnaeus in 1758. Linnaeus divided living organisms into two kingdoms. Living organisms into two kingdoms. दो किंगडम्स में 1758 में लीनियस ने ऑर्गेनिजम्स को डिवाइड किया. पहला किंगडम जिसको नाम रखा एनिमल किंगडम. एक को नाम रखा एनिमल किंगडम, दूसरे को नाम रखा प्लांट किंगडम. जाहिर सी बात है, जो एनिमल्स हैं उनको रखा एनिमल किंगडम में, वो जो प्लांट्स थे उनको रखा प्लांट किंगडम में. किन ऑर्गेनिजम्स को रखा एनिमल किंगडम में और किन को रखा प्लांट किंगडम में? यही करेक्टर्स, कुछ जो बेसिक करेक्टर्स थे कि पहला करेक्टर जो लोकोमोशन का था, मोमेंट का था. तो ऐसे सारे ऑर्गेनिजम्स जो मोमेंट में लोकोमोशन दिखाते थे, लोकोमोट करते थे, दे मूव फ्रॉम वन पोजीशन टू अनदर, लोकोमोशन करते थे, उनको रखा एनिमल किंगडम में. और जो प्लांट स्टेशनरी, जो ऑर्गेनिजम्स स्टेशनरी, फिक्स्ड वन, anchored to the soil with the help of roots. तो ये एक करेक्टर, इस करेक्टर की बिना पे एनिमल्स और प्लांट्स को अलग किया गया. दूसरा करेक्टर जो था, दैट वाज द हेटेरोट्रॉपिक एंड द ऑटोट्रॉपिक मोड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन. एनिमल्स चूँकि हेटेरोट्रॉपिक थे, ये ऑटोट्रॉपिक थे, ये भी डिस्टिंग्विश बन गई दो ऑर्गेनिजम्स के बीच में, जिनको अलग अलग किया गया, हेटेरोट्रॉपिक और ऑटोट्रॉपिक मोड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन. और तीसरा जो डिफरेंस लीनियस ने देखा इन दो ऑर्गेनिजम्स के ग्रुप में, जिनको क्लासिफाई किया एनिमल्स और किंगडम में, दैट इज द पैटर्न ऑफ ग्रोथ. अगर आप देखेंगे, जो ग्रोथ है प्लांट्स में, प्लांट्स ग्रो टिल डेथ. अगर हम पहले प्लांट्स की देखेंगे, प्लांट्स ग्रो टिल डेथ. अगर आप प्लांट्स में देखेंगे, प्लांट्स की जो एक प्रॉपर्टी है, शायद जो हमने टिश्यूज में भी डिस्कस की है, दैट दे ग्रो टिल डेथ. Plants always, their growth does not stop till their death. But in animals, the growth is restricted at a certain stage of life. ये तो इजीली हम विजुअलाइज कर सकते हैं। अगर हम प्लांट्स और एनिमल्स को डेली बेसिस पे ऑब्जर्व करेंगे तो ये चीज़ें हम देखने को मिलेंगी, दैट प्लांट्स ग्रो टिल डेथ एंड इन एनिमल्स द ग्रोथ इज रेस्ट्रिक्टेड एट सम स्टेज फ्रॉम वायर the further development of the organism takes place. And there was another difference, markable difference in the plants and animals in the at the cellular level, that is the presence of cell wall. यहाँ पे एनिमल्स के सेल में सेल वॉल था और यहाँ पे नो सेल वॉल, यहाँ पे सेल वॉल नहीं था, नो सेल वॉल। तो ये कुछ फंडामेंटल डिफरेंसेस थे ऑर्गेनिजम्स के बीच में, जिनकी बिना पे कार्लोस लिंनास ने 1758 में सारे ऑर्गेनिजम्स, द देन नून ऑर्गेनिजम्स को डिवाइड किया था खाली दो किंगडम्स में, एनिमल और प्लांट किंगडम में। मगर जो ही टाइम होता गया, जो ही टाइम होता गया, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एडवांसमेंट होने लगी, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा ऑर्गेनिजम्स को डिस्कवर किया गया, जो नून स्पीशीज़ ऑफ एनिमल्स और प्लांट्स जो है, जिनकी जब इनकी तादाद बढ़ गई तो हमने देखा कुछ एनिमल्स जो है ना तो वो फिट होते हैं एनिमल किंगडम में, तो ना तो वो फिट होते हैं प्लांट किंगडम में। तो जाते जाते एक और सिस्टम ऑफ क्लासिफिकेशन आ गया हमारे पास, जो आज भी इन वोग है, दैट इज़ the five kingdom classification that was put forth by Robert Whitaker, R.H. Whitaker in 1959, that is called as the five kingdom classification, wherein he put organisms into five different kingdoms. That will be taken into consideration in my next lecture. Till then, thank you.